go off when we hit 4,000, or what's the plan? Are we gonna have a party?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, awesome. Looking forward to it.
Okay, so what are we talking about today, Andrew?
We are talking about, what kind of strategies, I think, for both buyers and sellers should we be looking at when we are considering value of a home in a shifting marketplace? What do we tell our clients? How do we frame it? What are we looking at? What do we have to consider when the market is moving around a bit? And so it's really hard to put a pin on price.
So, well, what do you do?
I mean, first of all, I think what you do is you just share the information with your clients and let them, help them to understand that it is a shifting market, and so that they can understand whether they want to price to capture the shift, get ahead of it, whether they are feeling like they want to wait for maybe a shift back in the right direction for whatever that might be. It's really a matter of letting them know that risks of pricing a home in a market that could be going down, pricing it, too high, or pricing it too low, when things are moving around. But yeah, I think it's just really about conversation and really highlighting for folks that something's different now, that things are shifting. It's not, we're not just the values of the properties that we can look at in the past, what we normally do for comparables. We can normally say, if the market's been even and all things being equal, these ones that sold that are very comparable to yours, there's a good chance a buyer will come along and pay a similar price. But with things starting to shift, we need to look at other strategies and maybe consider the benefits of actually pricing lower in order to get more in the long run. That would be a big mind set piece for some people who need to sell, and understand that, if you price according to the market now and then end up with the price of values going down, you may have to chase it and end up much further down the marketplace than if you priced it to sell today. That's one of the big pieces of conversation. Jane, your mind is spinning there. What is?
Well, first of all, I'm wondering, how do we get rid of the banner at the bottom?
I don't know.
I'm like trying to get rid of the banner. I'm half listening to you. Okay.
I see. I'll work on that while you craft your response.
Okay, so here's my thought. So first, I've been having lots of conversations like this recently with clients, and you can get in a case of analysis paralysis with your clients wondering what you should be listing at. How did you do that?
We'll talk later.
Okay. So what was interesting in the conversation I had yesterday was, since listing a property, we looked at what else has come on the market since then. And what we noticed was there were a significant amount of listings that just came on. So what that says to me is, if you look, so one reason why I tell people to list earlier in the year is because there's just less competition. There's like this many other listings to compare to. And as you move on in the year, you have this many. So when you're, one little listing and you have 10 comparables, you have a 10% chance of selling. But when you all of a sudden are one of 100, it's just a lot less. The chances of you selling for what you want are, because people have choice. So what I was saying was, when, people are looking and they see there are 10 properties that meet their criteria and they get to see all 10, then they don't feel the buyer doesn't feel the urgency. The seller, on the other hand, is looking, okay, well, I listed, here was what was for sale when I listed. And then it's very important to have the conversation. Here's what's for sale now, 15 or 30 days in. And oh my God, all of a sudden, there's less people around here. I mean, there's more people around here that I need to sort of adjust. So there's looking at what's exactly in the competition for your house. Well, let's say it's a single family home, but there's also looking at what are the unique characteristics of your home? What other homes are out there that have it, and then looking at it holistically and saying price range wise, what is just for sale in that price range. So let's say we're looking like 700 to 800,000 or something. What other condos are for sale in that price range? And then what other houses are for sale in that price range?
Yeah.
'Cause
I
all
play
the
a little
things-
game. I play a little game with my buyers, with my sellers, and my sellers, especially when we're looking at pricing. And it's something you need to do and revisit every once in a while when you've been on market for a while, especially again in a shifting market where you say, look, you know, you're priced at $900,000. If I had $900,000 today, and let's say the average buyer had $900,000 and was to go shopping, how would they be viewing your property compared to what else is currently on offer? Not what is sold in the past. Your neighbor may have gotten $50,000 more than you're currently asking, and they might have exactly the same place as yours, and they just sold 3 weeks ago. But right now, what are the options for buyers? Because they're going to be looking with their money, which is important to them, obviously, to do the best they can for it.
Yep. So you have to keep apprised of what's going on in the market. That's the biggest mistake I find. If a seller is not looking at what's happening in the market, and we send those market reports once a week, we are in contact with them with what's happening. And if they're not looking, okay, how many people are looking at my listing? How many showings am I getting? How many other people are for sale on the market? Then when they don't understand why, and they start asking me, well, are you advertising here? Are you advertising here? Have you thought of advertising here? And I'm like, I'm advertising. If you Google your email or your address,
Your address?
you're going to show up in a million different places because you are all over the web. So it's not the marketing. So it really comes down to figuring out where is the market going. So Andrew and I, and I'm sure Jen, are always looking at what's happening. What is the news saying? What is the BC REA saying? What is the Victoria Real Estate Board saying? What are other realtors saying? We go to parties and we're totally boring because we all talk real estate. How's it going for you?
Those are fun parties. I think that we need to talk. I mean, there's a balancing act here too, because there's also sometimes all the doom and gloom messaging that comes up, and consumer sentiment is something we really need to take seriously. But there are micro markets, there are things that can happen, and part of our job too, I mean, is helping our clients understand this too shall pass, or the difference between this too shall pass. Okay, there's been a bit of a blip in the market. It's very likely to come back. You're probably okay to hold, stay on target. But on the other hand, everything's kind of telling us that this could be a long-term shift, and you may want to get ahead of this because otherwise you may not end up not even being able to sell.
Yeah, I mean, so I find it interesting when we're talking about interest rates, because I find whenever there's a lowering of an interest rate, there's a bit of optimism in the market. And and so the fact that there haven't been interest rate announcements lowering has kind of stopped people. But then I think, we're still at a really good interest rate if we compare to the regular world like 5 years ago, 6 years ago. So I just think sometimes it's just a mental shift that has to happen. And it can also be seasonality. So it's the time of year that you have to look at what is the overall activity of the market that's happening. Like, are we really in a spring market? It feels like we were in a spring market. We had an early spring market. It feels like we hesitated. Feels like it bumped up a bit over the last few weeks. And that like May was slow.
Right.
And then it feels like it's bumped up again. And it's kind of like sitting on a pulse. You're going up and down, waiting. And part of it is, what is the product that you have that you're selling and you're talking about the micro market.
And the thing about the micro market is that's a really almost impossible thing to predict or watch for. So I know people want to, list and get as much as they can for a home and try to, sell at the peak and then buy at the low, and, taking micro markets into account and so forth. I mean, it's like turning a large ship. Housing is not liquid. You list, it takes time to get it prepared, get it up on market. You could miss out on a beautiful, maybe that one weekend you had 5 out of 10 buyers happen to be in town, and a bunch of properties come off the marketplace, and they're all, there's a lot of competition for them. And then the next weekend, it's a long weekend, everybody's at the beach, people are distracted, and you're not getting any kind of activity on your property. So it's impossible to really fully predict these things.
It's interesting you say that,
Mhm.
because I found the May long weekend quite busy this year, surprisingly. And then I'm wondering, it's Father's Day this weekend, and I'm
Mhm.
wondering, should I do an open house or not? Am I going to get people? Am I not? Are people going to
Yeah.
be together? Like, is it a good idea or not? It's really so I was saying to my husband, like, we're always negotiating time and money, dates and money.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes the date for a purchase, I just sold a place, and both the buyer and the seller wanted to complete in September.
Mhm.
I'm like, this is a match made in heaven. How unusual is this? But it's and those sellers who are becoming buyers are figuring the market's going to go down, so they're happy with a long closing because they want to buy in the down market in the fall.
Right. And that is, actually, and that speaks to the pricing in a shifting market is, are you buying first and then selling? Are you selling first and then buying? Because if the market is shifting, there are strategies, especially important strategies, around that, depending on which direction the market is going. So in a market that's rising, what do? Buy first or sell first?
You buy from
Yeah, because you're going to get more for your home after down the road. And so that can be hard for people who can't actually afford to buy first. But if you are in a financial position of being able to do that, you're more than likely going to benefit from that strategy. And the other way around, if the market's going down.
I mean, the best position, which is such a hard position to be in, is to not have to sell or buy. You're selling or buying because you want to. It's a preference.
Mhm.
Because when you're motivated to sell, so the thing I tell people, especially when they're older, like, you want to sell before you have to sell. You want to make these decisions. It's like, go to the bank to get the loan before you really need the money.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it is,
So true.
that it is hard in a shifting market, again, where you go to sell your home and then you've got an unconditional agreement to sell your home, and then the market suddenly takes off. You're competing against properties, you're not winning on those competitions, and 3 months down the road, 4 months down the road, you still haven't found a home, and prices have gone up by 5%. And now you can no longer afford to buy a home even as good as the one you just sold. I mean, those are things that you got to really, really watch out for, in those shifting markets.
I don't think we're shifting that way, though. I think we're shifting the other way. I think
No, I'm talking in generality, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think right now people need to just realize, I think there are a number of factors that are coming in that say that the market's going to go down. So
Really?
Well, the BC real
High
estate
inventory.
economist is saying that the market's slowed down. I'm thinking, if I highly doubt, actually, that we're going to see 2 interest rate drops. I know that they're thinking that, but if inflation is up, I don't see interest rates going down. I don't know. And I see the number of listings going up. That's another sign that prices are going to go down, just because there's going to be more choice. So people are going to, well, you know what? If I don't want your place, I can go to the neighbor's place. I mean, I was doing an open house the other day on a street where the same, slightly different house is for sale. We both did open houses at the same time. People were going literally back and forth to 2 houses. I got an offer on mine, which we did not accept. And I sent a note out to the realtors, and the other realtor said, "Send them my way. We'll take a subject to sale." Like,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
and it speaks to the seller's motivation as well, right? So that seller is more likely to take a low ball offer than my seller.
So speaking of shifting markets, and when things are starting to slow down and not looking as positive, one of the things that I've observed over the years, and I think it's followed up in the data, is prices tend to go up much more quickly than they come down. We had during COVID, there was a big fear spike at the very beginning, and prices dropped precipitously to begin with, and then they just came roaring back. But overall, sellers are less likely to drop their price than buyers are to increase their price. When you see someone we see that prices, when the market turns to slow down, sellers will choose not to sell rather than take less quite often.
If they have the opportunity to do that, I talk to people about that all the time. So like, if somebody's like, I need to sell now because I'm moving for my job, that's one thing.
That is one thing.
They're like, you know what, my kids are growing older and we need more space to fit them in, that's a different thing. Or we want, sometimes, I think we talked about this last week. Sometimes I see people who are, they're just going through a rough time. Either their mom needs to come in with them, or perhaps, their kids are going to university and things are shifting and their cash flow may be different and all of that. So really trying to help them figure out, is this a short-term decision? Is this a short-term pain or a long-term one? And then, yes, do you have to sell?
Right. No, yeah, you're right. And the person who's owned their home for 25 years and, sure, their number on paper for the value of it went up higher at some point in the past, and now it's a little lower perhaps, but they're still willing to sell. They know what they want to do with the money. They've got a place to go with it. Those people who bought at a higher price point have a harder time selling at a lower price point. And those people who are, having plans to do a certain thing. But people do also, it takes some time, but people do have to always be reminded of, I think, what is your end all intention here? What's the cost of staying in the same home for the next 5 years, and not getting on with your life? And is that value going to be subjectively worth spending the money of the less for your home that you might get today than tomorrow?
So let's just talk strategies here. So you have to sell your home now. We're in a declining market, let's say, or, it's at least flat. I think we are flat. And
I agree with that.
What are signs that say you're not priced right? One is you're not getting any viewings.
Yeah. The viewings you are getting, the feedback is, it's not a fit for the clients, or there's some sort of comment on, room is too small, or needs a this, or, condition. And that's usually to indicate that they're finding better value somewhere else.
Yeah. Or they may not give you any feedback, because if they do, and they do come back, they don't want to prejudice themselves. So that happens too. We are in a weird situation when we give feedback, because are we giving our feedback or the client's feedback? So no showings, you're getting feedback that maybe is saying there's something wrong with the house. And
Low ball offers.
Low ball offer. I'm trying to think. Or maybe you are getting the viewings and no offers.
Yeah.
So you're in the right. So you have to adjust. So the strategy is to say, hey, I want an offer. How do we do that? One is we can do a price reduction. One is we can up our marketing a bit, maybe do some more social media around it. Another
You
is we
know,
can do an open house.
yeah, an open house I would consider within the realm of marketing. But when we talk about, so you said earlier, we do even without doing any specific realtor marketing, just the MLS marketing, it means you're going to be seen all over the place. And 90% of the people working with agents as buyers are going to be seeing your property. So doing additional marketing is helpful, but is that the lever that you are going to get the most bang for your buck on? And I would say sometimes it's about just rebranding the marketing, rebranding that
Yep.
home, really kind of wondering, okay, we've been marketing it as this kind of trying to attract these types of buyers because this was the buyer we thought was going to be coming to this home. But maybe we're wrong. Maybe we want to talk to this kind of buyer who might have deeper pockets or have a different kind of, maybe there's more of them in the marketplace right now. So we need to get their attention. And that's where the rebranding comes in, plus the additional marketing.
Yes. So I often will change pictures around so that it shows up
Same.
differently. And I'll change the comments around. I find actually, I was talking to clients that it is helpful to do an open house because I was listening to what people were saying, and then I can edit the comments that way. Like so many people came into this one listing and they're like, "So where's the second floor?" I'm like, "There's no second floor."
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
for furniture.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then I realized they were looky-loos who were driving by.
Right.
And so they weren't aware of the listing before they came to the open house. So
Right. So that's one comment, and you question it, and you find that out, and then you don't make an emergency shift in your marketing. But if you had three people come in and say, "Where's the second floor?" you might want to go back and look at your MLS listing and determine why people are thinking that.
yeah,
And we all make mistakes. Sometimes there is something put into the MLS, and it's a really good thing to double check it and triple check it. But even after that, there could be mistakes.
this is why you want to really read the comments when people are constructive. So we had an open house. This is one of the first listings I had. And this woman had her primary bedroom upstairs, and she actually had her son sleeping upstairs, but she had the crib downstairs, and people would come like on the main level. And then she used the front bedroom as an office. And after the open house, I realized people were saying, okay, like, I don't like not sleeping on the same level as my child. Why
Right.
would anybody do that? So we just moved her bed down, made the upstairs an office and gym. And all of a sudden the comments went away, and then the house sold. So sometimes having the open house just makes you aware of how people are perceiving it.
So there was so there's a woman who she was on the spectrum, and she identified things about farm animals, I guess. And there's some stuff on TED Talks about this. I'm going somewhere with this. Bear with me. She identified like animals that are going through the corrals, and they're being sent through the various maze of stuff, and they're stopping, and there's a certain point where it's blocking. And she's able to kind of say, well, you know what? There's a flag that's flying across the way there, and it's catching their eye. It's distracting them, and it's causing this whole line to stop. And it's actually fascinating if you listen to her, because what she's doing is she's perceiving things that maybe somebody else might not perceive. And they're on the unconscious level for these animals. But that's the same for us. We're animals too. We're going through a home, and you see something on the wall that the seller has put there that's a personal item, and suddenly they are going down some memory lane, or having some emotional reaction to it, positive, negative, whatever it is. They leave, and they're not thinking about the house. They're thinking about that event. And
That's
so
true.
that crib on the 2 floors away from the main home, you're saying this person doesn't love their baby. You're saying this person is not a good person. I don't want to buy from this. Like, I don't even want to deal with these people.
Yes.
And it's just
yeah. It's a great example because I remember going into a house and the top floor was pristine. It was beautiful. And downstairs it was a shite show. And that's a British, a shite show is like a
We know.
Canadian, a British version. Anyway, so I walk into this room and they have a squirrel like this. And
Yeah.
all I can remember now, even 15 years later, is that squirrel.
Right. Yeah, and we've all been through the homes that have like the taxidermy all over the walls, or a lot of religious items all over the walls, or even just sexy photos in the bedrooms.
Yeah.
There's a lot of a lot.
Okay, so let's just close this out.
Yeah.
Sit down, look at the whole market, look at all the comments. Try and just figure out, if you were a buyer, put yourself in the buyer's shoes, put your feet in the buyer's shoes and say, what is a buyer perceiving when they come to my home? And what can I do to make it more amenable for them to purchase? If you're highly motivated to sell, if you don't have to sell, maybe now's not the time.
Right. Why hammer at something that's not actually worthwhile? So if it's not the time to sell, you're not getting activity, maybe do take your home off market and wait for a better time. There may never be a better time, and you need to understand that. You may never sell, or it may be 5 years away. But if you don't really and truly need to sell, why put yourself through the trouble?
Yeah.
Really listen to the market, be in tune with it, and listen to your agent.
Yeah. Okay, folks. So if you like the show and you know somebody who's trying to sell, maybe they need to hear our advice. If you know somebody who is wanting to get their home ready, let us know. Please share and also don't forget to comment if you have any questions. And Andrew, how do people get in touch with you, my darling?
Reach out. I'm at 250-360-6106. That's my cell. It's a direct line. You will catch me there. Unless I recognize, never mind. You will reach me there. Info at andrewplank.com is my email, and you can come to the website andrewplank.com as well. We are also at realvibe.ca for the Vibe Collective.
Okay, Jen.
I am at 250-217-4925. Email is jen@jenlo.ca, and my website is jenlo.ca.
All right, and you can reach me with our new branding at the Briar Hill Group. My number is 250-744-0775. My email is jane@briarhillgroup.com, and you can visit us on our web at briarhillgroup.com. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram at realtyteacher_remix_Victoria. And I'm happy to say that we got our Facebook back. Yay!
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Oh, good for you. Good for you.
Yeah. All right, I got to go to another meeting. So we'll see you next week. Don't forget, we are on every Thursday at 9:30. We'll see you then. Take care, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Thanks so much.
Bye.